Welcome to another Who Won PMQs. Now I didn't do one last week as Starmer wiped the floor with Truss, and it didn't seem worth it. Had I known it would have been her last one, it would have been quite funny. But nevertheless, this week's Rishi Sunak's turn as Prime Minister. So let's see how he fared against the Labour leader. Oh, and apologies for my voice. I have man flu, and that's why I sound a little croaky. So, off we start with a nice speech from Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and may I welcome the Prime Minister. The first British Asian Prime Minister is a significant moment in our national story. And it's a reminder that for all the challenges we face as a country, Britain is a place where people of all races and all beliefs can fulfil their dreams. That's not true in every country, and many didn't think that they would live to see the day when it would be true here. It's part of what makes us all so proud to be British. Was his Home Secretary right to resign last week for a breach of security?
Prime Minister!
And a good opening question. Point to him.
Mr. Speaker, can I thank the Honourable Gentleman for his kind and indeed generous welcome to the dispatch box. I look forward to Prime Minister's question time with him, and I know that we will have, no doubt, robust exchanges, but I hope that they can also be serious and grown up.
Followed by a gracious response and a positive news that he wants to engage in a grown-up debate. Point to Sunak. However, it doesn't last very long. His reply to the first question ends with him saying that Labour is soft on crime.
While the party opposite remains soft on crime.
When only a few months ago, he was fined for breaking the law whilst in office.
Yesterday, the Prime Minister stood on the steps of Downing Street and promised integrity, professionalism and accountability. But then, with his first act, he appointed a Home Secretary who was sacked by his predecessor a week ago for deliberately pinging around sensitive Home Office documents from her personal account. Have officials raised concerns about his decision to appoint her?
A good reply from Starmer and a big question. The rumour is that Sunak didn't want to lose another Tory leadership race, and so he's made a deal with Braverman. If the security risk claim is true, then officials would of course raise questions about her reappointment. If they're not true, then it's an easy answer. Let's have a look at his response.
Mr. Speaker, I just addressed the issue with the Home Secretary, but he talked about fighting crime. I would hope, Mr. Speaker, I would hope that he would welcome. I would hope that as we look forward, he would welcome the news today that there are over 15,000 new police officers on our street. And the Home Secretary will be supporting them to tackle burglaries. While the party opposite will be backing the lunatic protesting fringe that are stopping working people going about their lives. Here's Starmer.
Of what? What on earth is he going on about? Point to Starmer.
We can all see what's happened here. He's so weak, he's done a grubby deal, trading national security because he was scared to lose another leadership election. There's a new Tory at the top, but as always with them, party first, country second. On the steps of Downing Street, he also admitted what the whole country knows. The Tories have crashed the economy, and now somebody has to pay for their mess. I say it shouldn't be working people who've been hammered time and again by this lot, but those with the broadest shoulders must step up. Does he agree?
Now with this question, Starmer is trying to get Sunak to back away from the public spending cuts that everybody knows is coming in the budget.
Perhaps he could explain to us why it was a few years ago he was supporting the member for Islington North.
That's his answer, Jeremy Corbyn. This is descending into a cheap version of Boris Johnson with these pathetic responses. I expect him to switch to the vaccine rollout and Brexit next.
When times are difficult in this country, I will always protect the most vulnerable. That is the values of our compassionate party. We did it in COVID and we will do that again.
Just to pick him up on that point, as Chancellor, he removed the £20 uplift to universal credit. How is that protecting the vulnerable? Another point to Starmer.
I don't need to explain to the Prime Minister how non-dom status works. He already knows all about that. It costs the Treasury £3.2 billion every year. Why doesn't he put his money where his mouth is and get rid of it?
Nice little dig at Sunak, his own personal family tax avoidance scheme.
I have been honest, we will have to take difficult decisions to restore economic stability and confidence. And my honourable friend, the Chancellor, will set that out in an autumn statement in just a few weeks. But what I can say, as we did during COVID, we will always protect the most vulnerable. We will do this in a fair way. But what I can say, I am glad, Mr. Speaker, that the party opposite, honourable gentleman, has finally realised that spending does need to be paid for.
Wow, just look at that answer. Right there, claiming to have taken difficult decisions to recoup the money they've lost with the unfunded tax cuts. Spending needs need to be paid for. Maybe you should have said that to the previous Prime Minister and the Chancellor, and not the opposition.
The last two. But anyway, I have to say, I'm surprised he's still defending non-dom status. He pretends he's on the side of working people, but in private he says something very different. Over the summer, he was secretly recorded at a garden party in Tunbridge Wells, boasting to a group of Tory members that he personally moved money away from deprived areas to wealthy places instead. Rather than apologise or pretend that he meant something else, why doesn't he now do the right thing and undo the changes that he made to those funding formulas?
Now this is a fantastic question, and there's no way out of it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, here, allow me to show you.
I managed to start changing the funding formulas to make sure that areas like this are getting the funding that they deserve. Because we inherited a bunch of formulas from the Labour Party that shoved all the funding into deprived urban areas, then that needed to be undone. I started the work of undoing that. I know the right honourable gentleman rarely leaves North London. But if he does, he will know that there are deprived areas in our rural communities, in our coastal communities.
Oh dear, I thought I was actually going to get some good answers from this opening remark. This has to be the best line of PMQs this week.
He's not on the side of working people. That's why the only time he ran in a competitive election, he got trounced by the former Prime Minister, who herself got beaten by a lettuce.
Mr. Speaker, he talks about mandates, about votes, about elections. It's a bit rich coming from the person who tried to overturn the biggest democratic vote in our country's history.
And there we have it, falling into the Brexit argument. I should have scripted this. This isn't a new approach, this isn't a fresh start, it's just another weaker version of Johnson. It's like Truss and Sunak were sitting next to him through his whole administration going, well, I could do that. I really hope Sunak improves his game, otherwise these weekly videos are just going to become too predictable. Anyway, Starmer takes the win this week. And you should see the massive lift of achievements the Conservatives have delivered over the past 12 years. Or lack of. Videos on screen now. Thanks for watching, and if you've got any tips on how to beat man flu, let me know in the comments. I really need it. I'll see you next time.